All right, you're tuned in to Bare Knuckle Bowker, and I'm very excited to be welcoming on an individual set to compete at BKFC 69 on December the 6th. And a very intriguing fight with Justin Street set to knuckle up and toe the line against Nathan Rivera. And great having Nathan on Bare Knuckle Bowker to talk a bit about all that today. How are you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of great things are on the go for you. Like it looks like you got engaged since the last time we spoke, so big congrats there, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been a long time since we've spoken. A long time since I fought. I think the last time I fought was December. I'm sorry. It was February of I guess of this year. So it'll be 10 months of me not being in there. So in that time, it's been a lot of great things. Let's see what went on. I got engaged, which was the biggest thing. We moved over here, kind of like an hour away, closer to my gym, closer to my job, into a really nice part of town over here in Beaufort, Georgia, which is actually about 20 minutes away from the venue. Whenever BKFC comes here to Atlanta at the Gas South Arena.
That's kind of a bit of serendipity. That must have been kind of interesting to see when the bout offer came your way. Like, did it kind of click like fairly early on? Like, hey, I'm going to be in pretty close proximity to the venue from our new spot here.
Yeah, I mean, so man, getting Georgia legal with bare knuckle, it took some time, and then once we got legal, getting bare knuckle to come to Georgia, it took a little bit even more time. So I was thinking it was going to be in a certain amount because I've lived in Georgia for a long time. I fought in Georgia for a long time, so I know the venues and I knew kind of around where we're sitting, where we want to go, as how where BKFC wanted to go as far as numbers, right? So there's a couple of events and destinations I thought that they might go to, and I was thinking, man, the Gas South Arena, 10 minutes from American Top Team Lima, which is where I train. Um, and I was thinking to myself, it's 20 minutes from my new apartment. And I was like, this is awesome. If we can get this going here, I think that'd be awesome because I'm what I do during the day is I'm in sales, I'm in welding sales, and all of my customers are kind of around that area. So I think it would be. I was thinking to myself, man, this would be awesome. And then I finally got a contract and we got working there, and I was super happy to see what venue it was.
Yeah, and it seems like you're obviously in a state of contentment now, and as far as like having that defined direction, but in mentioning the hiatus, like, was there any point during that where you were kind of like, oh man, I'd like to get back out there and get a little active with it? Like, was there any kind of, I guess, adjustment curve with that, or was it kind of just like trust the process? Like, I'll just keep honing my skills and something will invariably pop up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so I got offered to fight multiple times throughout this time, and different bare knuckle organizations, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever. Like all the stuff I wanted, I got offered to do, and I turned everything down if it wasn't BKFC. I just knew that this is where I want to be, and I didn't want to like chance not being able to fight for BKFC if they called. I mean, I was chomping at the bit, and I got a manager. I work with Sucker Punch Management now, and Nate Shook is probably like, thank God, because I was in this guy's inbox every single Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I'd say, "Good morning, Nate. Are there any dropouts?" All right, and I watched all the film of every 45er and 55er on every single card, so that if somebody were to call me, I was prepared and I was ready to go. So like I mean I spent a lot of time training, but in camp, out of camp, my life doesn't change. The only difference is my diet. Like I cleaned up my diet. You walk a little bit lighter. You can't have the crumble cookies after dinner. You can't do all this stuff. But the training itself, it hasn't changed. I mean, that's what I do year round, every day, 365 days a year. So it wasn't too bad. Like there's no ring rust I have to knock off or anything like that.
I guess it's kind of good that you can, in a way, I mean, obviously they do more than this, obviously, but good to, I guess, kind of even outsource that sort of thing to the management team, just like in terms of advocating for fights or getting certain motion happening. Like, I mean, you're obviously very focused on your training anyway, but even more of a, I guess, solidified focus on it with that. And I mean, a great managerial entity too, one of the bigger ones in combat sports for sure, man.
Yeah, I mean it's been great, man. And I just my agent Scott Howard, he does a great job with getting me fights. And when we had a meeting and we were discussing working together, I was like, look, I don't want to break the bank. of BKFC bank. Like I'm not one of these guys that's going to ask for some Mike Perry millions of dollars. Like I just want to fight. I know I'm 2-0. I know the money will come. I just need to fight. And it got to the point with Nate Shook where I was like, and Nate's so awesome, man. He's great, but I just felt so bad because I was bugging him. I was like, Nate, I'll fly there on my own dime. I will fly there if it's not in the budget. Like I understand, I know how business works. Like I just want to fight, and I was being super impatient, trying to force it and trying to make my plans. And I was like, you know what? Just I was like, this is obviously not in the cards for me right now, and God has a plan. And then lo and behold, a couple of months later, I'm here in Georgia, and I mean, it's going to be a crazy crowd. I picked up my tickets the other day, yesterday, and I mean, I picked up 200 tickets, a couple tables, and all this stuff, and I'm already hitting up Dave Cranston to get some more. I mean, I'm going to pack out this whole venue, so I'm very very excited to fight here.
Yeah, and it's cool to see because I don't know. It's just you've been one of the more exciting guys to kind of interject yourself into the bare knuckle space and just I feel like there's so many great things to come. I mean, like you even see it in your own, I guess, mentality and approach to it, like seeing just the different posts about talking about how BKFC's featherweight division has a new face. And I saw a post you
Right.
had a bit ago talking about how, like people could work for like a full year while you take that same year off and you would still not be touched by any of the present
Yeah.
featherweights. So it seems like there's a certain I don't know, synchronicity to this whole thing, like you being in bare knuckle and just this journey so far, albeit kind of early in the journey.
Yeah, man, I feel like I found my home in combat sports, in BKFC. I mean, I my it's so funny because my boxing coach, my very first boxing coach, he was like, I was doing MMA at the time, and I would split my time grappling, striking. You know how it is with MMA fighters. Your schedule is so packed. And he was like, "Look, bro, I know a boxer when I see one. You're a boxer." And I was like, "No, I'm an MMA fighter." And then, next thing you know, I haven't been to the gym without a pair of shoes on, and since my debut, my BKC debut. So I'm full on. I'm not necessarily a boxer, but I'm a bare knuckle fighter, and um, it's just I think it was the right move, and I flew out to Philly recently for the tryouts, and there was like 140 people there. I don't know what the number was. Maybe it was like 80 people or something like that, but it was a ridiculous amount of tryouts, and I just thought to myself, I started this in November of 2023, and it was almost to the day a year, and how much this company has grown. I mean, Connor being a partial owner, all these different investors in the company. The tryouts are like stacked. Like people want to be here, and I just thought to myself, man, I got so blessed that I got on. I got on. I forget what number it was, but it was in Orlando, Florida. And sorry, my phone is moving.
All good,
I
man.
was like, I got on, and in Orlando, Florida, and Mike Perry was the guy, and he, still is the guy, and I mean, he was in the crowd, and I didn't know anything about the sport or the company, and I was just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, and Chris Lights Out Lytle, he was asking me to say a couple things to the guys, at the tryouts, and I was like, look, I'm 2-0, like I'm not here to tell you guys a bunch of technique stuff, like I'm just here to tell you that if you wanted to be a part of a growing company, this is the company to do that. I mean, I've been in it for 1 year, and it's skyrocketed. I mean, absolutely skyrocketed. So, yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. I think it's a great time to be here in this company.
Yeah, and you mentioned McGregor. Like, is this someone you've? I mean, I guess maybe he would be like this would be like the first time you would maybe even get to potentially interact with him at this upcoming card. Like, it just seems like he's regularly a staple of these events now. Like, is that something that you're, I guess, thinking of at all, or have given? I mean, obviously, like, would be very small in like that overall pecking order for this card. But is that like even like a peripheral kind of thing? Like, oh yeah, like McGregor will probably be at this event, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of the folks that are coming out, they're hoping he's there, and of course, I'm hoping he's there. And I mean, yeah, he's just anyone that has done what he's done in the sport is I'd like to mix it up with them and have a conversation and shake his hand. You know what I mean? Just as a fan, and of course, he's my boss. Kind of, him and Dave are like kind of my bosses. So I'd like to, I'd like to talk to him, and I think it'd be really cool because I think it just boost the overall show. I mean, anytime he's at a show, it's electric, and I know he has a record label, and I know Atlanta is a hotbed for music and producers and stuff like that. So I could see him really being here and having a great turnout. I think it'd be really awesome.
Yeah, well said. And it's kind of cool that he's targeting being more of like a player manager was kind of like the wording that he used. Like it would seem like there's great potential for different BKFC fights for him. Like I'd seen an interview where David Feldman was like, I guess talking about even potential fights in a hypothetical sense, obviously, but like that, like the couple like pie in the sky, like ideal fights in
Right.
terms of eliciting like that big attention. He's like, oh man, it'd be great to get like a Jake Paul or Mike Perry in there against Conor and BKFC. So a lot of options. It seems fun.
Yeah, I mean it's endless, man. I mean, you see these guys that are leaving the UFC and they're coming to bare knuckle, and I mean, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it, and I'm just glad that I got on at a time that was like before the pop, like by the time that this I mean it's been building and building and building, and then I think it just hit this wall, and I was like so blessed that I'm like, all right, I'm already like 2-0, like I'm somewhat of an established name in the featherweight division, not anywhere near where I want to be yet, but like I feel like people have kind of know who I am if they saw a highlight of me or something like that. So yeah, definitely the possibilities are just endless in this company, man. I feel like they can make anything happen. You know what I mean? There's this like dream possibility of a fight, and the next thing you know, it's on the next card, and you're like, how did they even make that happen? So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, exciting times, man, for sure. And it seems like this is like a solid opponent to be having at this juncture, just in the sense of like they've been in there with some different, ranked contenders and stuff like that in BKFC before. So it would seem like this is a good opponent to be having at this juncture and everything, and in concert with different goals you seem to have in mind for down the line, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Justin Street is this is my fourth professional bout, and this is Justin's probably like 17th or something like that. So I mean, he's battle tested and he's tough, and I mean, he had a great amateur record, and I mean, he's 1-1. I'm 2-0. So like, this is uh this is a time where like this is pedal to the metal. Like I'm excited to show what I can do against a scrapper like that. You know what I mean? So I'm happy. I was asking I I don't know if this is true, but something inside me it keeps on thinking that like some reason like this fight won't go down some reason. Um Maybe I don't know why I have that feeling. It could be absolutely nothing, but I just had it today. Actually, like when I was prepping for this interview, I was thinking to myself, this is weird, bro. I kind of feel like maybe like something bad, like an injury or something that I have to pull out or something. And I thought to myself, if that's the case, like who would I want to fill? And then I just realized like I've done research on literally everybody in the division, and any name that they threw at me, I'd take it in a heartbeat. But this one in particular, I think is a super awesome fight for me because this guy is not a slouch. He's a scrapper, and I'm excited to have a 5 round like bloody war if I need to.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, I would wonder what that's informed by. Like, maybe there's because if it's nothing from like your opponent directly per se, like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe
No,
there's a certain amount of like, oh, I'm like the Atlanta-based guy. Like, they're making his first foray into Atlanta. Like, I'm just really hoping this stays locked in. Like, maybe it's more that, I guess, or I don't know. Like, yeah.
it might be that, but also I'd be stalking my opponents hard. So I like look on his Facebook and Instagram, and I don't see any kind of promotion. I don't see any posters. I don't see anything like that. And I thought to myself, like, man, this is weird. But I just at the same time, it's just like I think that before every single fight, like I always have the possibility in my mind, like, yeah, maybe this fight won't go down, it'll be somebody else. But like I'm very, very, very much so locked in on this opponent that I mean, I know everything about him, you know. I do a lot of research, so I'm excited to see what he brings to the table, and I'm excited to see what kind of new things he brings that I don't know about him because his last fight, it was a 5 round fight, and he lost the decision, but he looked good, and he's a smart dude. I know he's made adjustments, so I'm excited to see what he brings as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I believe it was your debut in BKFC. You'd given out those letters to Chris Lytle and then also David Feldman talking about, the Rivera era kicking off. But
That's
there
right.
was like a part of the Feldman note that I thought was kind of interesting, talking about like a multi-fight contract with like a few question marks kind of put in there. Just I figured I'd kind of touch on that in a sense, just with you talking before about how you were prior to getting this locked in, fielding some other offers in a loose way from like bare knuckle entities and other MMA organizations, or like at least them kind of reaching out to you to see what the interest level and availability would be. I guess in saying all of that, is this like another, I guess like one bout agreement with BKFC, or did we finally get that like multi-fight sort of arrangement we were looking for?
No, I mean this one that they sent over to me was a single fight, and I'm okay with it. I like the idea of a multi-fight deal, and I'm sure that will come down the line. But like, as long as I'm fighting, and as long as I'm fighting often, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm cool with whatever. There's nowhere else that I want to be in the combat sports world. So like, I know that I think there's security for me in this company. And if I keep knocking people out the way that I do, and I'm just trying to be as much of a company man as I can. Like I'll fly out to Philly. Like I'm going to be in LA for this what's it? Is it DAZN, or is it just a BKFC app fight? I think it's the yeah. Anyways, regardless, it's the LA fight. Like I'm going to be there in attendance. I was in Philly. Like I want to show the staff and Dave that I'm here to stay, and I want to bring more to the table than just knockouts. I mean, I can bring those all day, but I want to bring to the table a partnership with BKFC to where like I can help the company grow, and the company can help me grow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like what do you see with that growth? Like what do you, I guess, more specifically kind of like alluding to there as far as like I guess growing the company as you also grow and everything?
Yeah, so I mean, I I do pretty well. I have so many supporters, and these supporters, man, they go to the end of the world for me, and y'all will see that. And hopefully you'll be in attendance, but y'all will see that, December 6th, like I have riders, they're down for me, and we pack out that arena. You're going to see a lot of Nathan Rivera fatheads floating around. You're going to see a lot of Nathan Rivera t-shirts. And I told David Feldman when I was in Philly that I'm going to sell out more than four or five folks in the card together. I'm going to sell out more than them, and I think that's what we're on track to do. And that's what I mean is if we're breaking into the Atlanta scene with BKFC, that's I want to be a big part of that, and they've told me that I'm going to be a big part of that. So I'm excited to help the company grow in the South.
Yeah, and that seems to be like the way that they kind of like, I guess, build up a lot of these different cards. I mean, you could really say that for, just any combat sports promotion in general. Like it behooves them to have like an area guy that's able to generate a certain amount of tickets. So I think that could even inform the, I guess, desired rate of activity you have. Like if this Atlanta show goes well, and by all accounts, it seems like it's trending towards that, one would imagine there'd be multiple shows down the line and probably by proxy, like multiple calls you would be getting, one would think at least, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's when I was in Philly. I told Dave, I said, I don't know if y'all are planning to come back to Atlanta, but like, I want to fight. And I kind of said to him what I said to you, like, I don't want to break the bank. I know the money will come, but I want to fight, and I want to fight 4 or 5 times in 2025. He seemed very receptive to it, and I said, I don't want to be that guy that fights when y'all are in Atlanta. Like, I want to fight, and he was like, yeah, like I said, he was super receptive to it, and I've been working a lot with Michael Vespa. I don't know if you're familiar, but he works with BKFC. He's on the athlete development side, and I mean, he's been helping me out. I mean, I've come to him with all kinds of questions. He's been helping me out with everything. I mean, as far as tickets and advice and just helping develop me. We had a one-on-one meeting or I'm sorry, not a one-on-one, but I had a meeting with him, a gentleman named Liam Cullen, and David Feldman, and this was a Zoom meeting. This was maybe 2 months ago. It was a great meeting, and pretty much Dave was talking to Michael and me, and was saying, like, this is a big part of the Atlanta show, and he's going to be a big part of 2025. So whatever he needs, let's make it happen. So I'm very, very, very excited, and I'm anticipating a very great future with us.
Well, yeah, it sounds like there's like a certain level of rapport that you have, like even just like some of those conversations behind the scenes you were talking about there. Like it seems like there's like a bit of that, behind the scenes connectivity and whatnot. I mean, you're very much like making it known what you're looking for, and I'm sure people, very much do appreciate that. Shows like the gameness and the desire and everything like that. So I definitely love to hear that. But I guess I figured I'd, touch base with you on a couple developments within the featherweight division, just kind of touching back to what we
Yeah.
were talking about before, where you were talking about how you've like really established yourself in the featherweight division and will continue to do so. Just curious to get your thoughts on, I guess, really a couple things because, champ Kai Stewart emerging victorious and getting that, title defense, another title defense rather, under his belt against Jimmy Rivera. Like, what were your thoughts on his performance at that BKFC Montana event?
This is not to be disrespectful, and this is not a lie. Uh, First of all, I can't stay up that late regardless. I train very hard. I work all day. But I was watching the fight and I did fall asleep in the first round. And that's not like saying he's well, I mean, I don't know. It speaks for itself. I did fall asleep. I woke up, my DAZN app was open and I said, "Oh shoot." And I checked Instagram and I saw who won and I went back to sleep. But no, yeah, I mean, I think it's cool what the featherweight division brings. I mean, there's so many killers. In my opinion, it might be just because I'm there, or maybe because I've watched all of them. I think it's the most stacked division. I don't think from top to bottom, there's a lot of guys where it's like, oh, that's a walk in the park. Like especially the top five, it's ridiculous. I mean, these guys are killers, and I'm hoping that I can get some of these undefeated folks my next fight, my next go round. Like I have a couple people in mind that I've directly messaged and said like, hey, do you want to fight? Like very to the point, like no disrespect, but like, would you like to fight? I mean, I know that's not obviously our decision, that's Nate's decision and stuff like that. But yeah, like there's a lot of people that I want to go after. And I'm not one of those guys that just tries to get a shortcut to the belt. Like I'm gonna knock out everybody who's in front of me until I get there. And that's it. The most important fight is the one that's in front of me. And right now the one that's in front of me is Justin Street. So he's the most important fight.
Yeah, I totally hear that and absolutely not overlooking Street as an opponent, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't, I guess, maybe try to get some deeper insights into some of the other featherweights you've been messaging to see if some fights can potentially get set up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now who I would like to fight. Um, I got a couple people in mind. I mean, the top two that I would like to, something about going to someone's hometown and fighting, it makes me excited. I want to go to someone's backyard. One person that I would like to fight is Tommy Stratum. He's 3-0, right? I'd like to take his O. I kind of want to be like an O collector, right? I take his O. Edgar, the Dream Killer. I'd like to take his O. He's 3-0. And these are all formidable opponents. These guys are very tough. I just see myself running through them. And I've been asking these guys. I've been in my manager's DMs. I've been in Nate Shook's DMs with these specific names. A couple of other guys, another one's out of Canada. My gosh, what's his name? The only reason I remember him is because his nickname is the Slim Reaper, and I'm the Reaper.
That makes sense, yeah.
And I forgot his name, Robert, I think. Maybe not Robert. I don't know. But he's like 2-0. I realized he's 2-0. So I kind of just go through the division. I look who is undefeated. Obviously, if you're undefeated, you're doing something right. And I'd like to test myself against these folks. That's just three off the top of my head.
I was gonna say, was it Robert Descharnais, the Slim
Is
Reaper?
he the Slim Reaper? Yep, the tall, skinny dude with curly hair.
Yeah, I just searched it quickly when you were talking because it says he's also from Canada as well. So it seems like there's that alignment. I mean, I get kind of interesting. There's a second Slim Reaper in BKFC, but he's a light heavyweight. So I guess I figured it wasn't
No,
him with deductive reasoning. A big leap up, yeah.
definitely do not want any part of that Slim Reaper.
But I guess one of the other questions that I feel like bears my asking, and be curious to get your insights on it, just because I touched on the Kai Stewart performance, and then on that same card, number one contender Brendan Allen fought and also emerged victorious. Like, do you see that being the next title fight, Kai Stewart versus Brendan Allen for BKFC's featherweight belt?
I mean, as a fighter and a fan of the sport, I'd like to see it just because, I mean, like, Brandon's taking out everybody that's in front of him. You know what I'm saying? And so is Kai. So, like, as a fighter, like, I know that sometimes the rankings, they don't, sometimes the champ doesn't fight the number one for a while. But I think there's a lot of exciting matchups. But personally, I'd love to see that matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, just such a fun time for sure. And I think I even thought to ask those questions kind of going off of the comments you were putting out there just about how deep and exciting the division is. And certainly, you're a fixture within that as well. So yeah, just exciting times. And it's cool that It's like the confluence of two things in a sense, because I can tell you're obviously very focused on your opponent here, but there is also that like studious kind of awareness of people in the division. Like you were kind of saying, like you wouldn't mind being the O collector and having like specific opponents in mind. I feel like it's a healthy balance because like you have to be obviously very aware of the immediate task in front of you, but I think it also behooves a fighter to at least have some semblance of an idea of the next step as much as one can have without overlooking the opponent. Like obviously a fine balance, but it seems like you're striking that balance nicely from what I can tell at least.
Yeah, I've had a lot of time. I've had a lot of time, 10 months to focus on everybody in the division. And I do very well when I have a task and I have a opponent in my mind. You know, I would go weeks on end preparing for this opponent, you know, getting partners in for this opponent. Like I know my path is going to cross with some of these guys. So I would go weeks on end that turned into months on end because I had so much time that I would prepare for these different fighters month by month or weeks by weeks. And because I was just like, you know, I'm this is not going to slow down and I'm going to pass this guy. And I'd love an extra 4 weeks of preparation other besides my camp for this specific opponent. So I had a lot of time to get creative, and my coaches, they're super down with all the preparation. I mean, we have shared notes in our phones that, you know, yeah, we'll have an opponent's name and then it'll have, you know, the notes that I see, the notes that he sees, tendencies, like all of this stuff. So as soon as we got the name with Justin Street, nothing else is important. So that kind of like split brain was no longer split. You know, I'm on my opponent now, and as soon as I take care of business, we can go back to picking off all the other featherweights in the division.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Just really exciting time. And I do appreciate you coming on and chatting as well, Nathan. But I also do want to be mindful of what you're getting up to the rest of the day and whatnot. So figured I'd give you the floor if there was like a final parting thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up here, man. I do appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, no, dude, thank you for having me, man. I mean, final thoughts. If you are in the Atlanta area or you're in the Southeast, come out to December 6th, the event on December 6th. I mean, it's gonna be amazing. I mean, they've already had to expand the arena. We're selling it out. It's going to be, I think, a big time for the Rivera era. I think I'm gonna break into the top five. And if I don't, then I'm gonna keep knocking people out until I get there. So yeah, that's the parting ways my coaches have my back, God's got my back, and my family has my back, and I'm excited to show the world what we've all been cooking.
Yeah, and I'm sure the world is excited to see it. I think you're someone who a lot of the bare knuckle fans are really excited to see. And yeah, cool. We'll get a chance to see that at least to like close out the year and stuff like that. Nice to get one in December. And again, thanks so much for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker. Was definitely excited for this Justin Street fight when I saw it announced. And yeah, just had to have you on before BKFC 69 and this big Atlanta card. So thanks so much for that, man. And I'll certainly be peeping the fight and everything, but until then, you have a good rest of your day. And again, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. God bless, brother.